Okay, so we're gonna do some twists and stuff today. I have a block. You'll want something to put in between your knees, and it doesn't have to be a block. If it's heavy, redirect. You might want maybe like just a nice thick paperback book or a couch cushion or something. You can use that little squeezy ball, whatever, about yay size. We'll do a couple of things to help kind of like clarify some twisting poses. I was reading through that brain pickings newsletter that I take a look at occasionally, and it was talking about where zero came from. And it was interesting to like look at the history and the development of the digit zero and the concept of zero and how it's also used to like create bigger numbers. Like they wouldn't have bothered to acknowledge a zero originally. So you only had like numbers 1 through 9 essentially, and I'm telling this wrong, but for clarity and brevity, they only have 1 through 9. So after you had 9, there was like a special way to notate that you were at the next number after that, and they didn't use a zero. So it becomes this like weird little like mathematic formula to figure out how you've expressed 472 or 500, because we didn't have the zeros. Things didn't continue in that like the numerological sequence that we think of, because they were not in the capacity to acknowledge the existence of nothingness. And that's very interesting because, you know, at this point, we acknowledge that there are these empty spaces. There are these pauses, even if they seem to get shorter and shorter. But we do have these moments where things are at a bit of a standstill, at a hesitation, at a softness, where we have the expansiveness of space that isn't really nothingness. And then you look at a zero itself, and it's a complete circle. Like it is enough just as it is. We have that mudra of completion to bring the index finger and thumb together as that symbol of connection, and it creates that little that little zero. And I found this particularly interesting that I should happen to stumble upon this today, because I was writing a letter to a friend, and I said, you know, truly, no matter where we go with this situation that we're working through, this option that I think is most likely is enough. And not enough in a way that like, oh, it'll do. It's no, this most likely scenario is perfectly full and adequate in all of the most beautiful ways. And yes, there's room for other things if it seems like it's right to go in other directions, but this is enough, because I choose to see the fullness and the beauty and the completeness of this option, of this path. So then seeing that with the zero, and then we in yoga have all of this discussion of fullness that also is nothingness. And we have this idea of santosha and contentment, which is to find that whatever we are in is enough. And that we have happiness and we have joy there, and it doesn't need to be ecstatic and wild, and it doesn't need to be, you know, necessarily that we don't wish to change or adapt or grow in a place, but can I be content here now? Can this be enough? Can I acknowledge this place that doesn't have all of the complicated additions onto it and simply be in this space, in this complete circle? Maybe a super like meta mathematic dharma talk, but I think if we just say, I'm content, it's okay, we can simplify it that way. Yeah. Okay. So index finger and thumb together, you're going to start with the squishy spot at the center of your forehead and brush outwards towards your temples a few times. And then going from the sides of your nose out to your temples along your cheekbones. And from your temples down to your chin, along your jawline. And from the sides of your nose down to your chin, along your laugh lines. And then massaging the soft spot underneath your ears. Lifting up on the bony spot from behind your ears. And thinking in terms of negative space, of the places that we create space in the body, that separation or that openness that comes into those body parts, of thinking of maybe there's a little bit more space in between your vertebrae, that's not nothing, right? Like that has such an effect upon us, expanding that space. Keep that space expanded as you let your hands rest down into your lap and start to move the breath. See if you can deliberately make a slight pause in between your inhales and exhales. Just take a brief moment, just a little one, to notice that space in between. And it's fluid. We're not stagnant, we don't freeze up. But there is that point where you're not deliberately moving the breath and it still has value, has significance. It exists as a moment in time. It is a part of the breath cycle. Next time you breathe in, nice and full through your nose. Big exhale through your mouth. Again, like that. For 3 ohms. And coming down onto your back, we'll begin practice there. I mentioned you may want a block or something light of about this size. I want to just have that near you when you get down onto your back. Eventually finding yourself with feet on the mat, knees bent up in the air. Making sure you're in a fairly comfortable positioning of the legs where the feet are maybe hip width or so apart and not so tight to the hips that it's difficult to hold on to it. And then start to roll your knees just kind of leisurely from side to side. Moving around a few times to loosen up the legs and the hip sockets.
And then really letting kind of like a reverb happen, like maybe your legs sort of bounce a little bit as you drop them over. Just in a way of being inquisitive about the chain of reaction in the body. Just kind of thinking of just falling side to side. And this is about 2 more times each side. You're going on your own pace. You might get there before or after me. And then coming back to the center, you're going to take your right leg and slide it out. And then you're going to roll over onto your right side so that your left leg is on top. It's just nice and easy here. I've got my foot resting on my calf. And then your right arm out in front of you, you're going to take your left arm and take it up over your head. I know this gets kind of complicated. And you can bend your elbow if your shoulder is feeling tender. But you just want to start bringing that elbow open and open and open and just feel yourself spiraling out into this twist. Big breath in. Big breath out. And then you probably feel almost like you're about to fall over anyway, so go ahead and let both hips soften back down. And then you'll slide your right leg and let your left leg go out. You're gonna roll over onto your left side. I've got this right leg bent with my foot on my leg. And then I'm gonna reach my right arm up and over my head and just feel that change as I roll it open, elbows stretching my chest out. One more breath out. And rolling back onto your back. And then you're going to curl all the way over to your right. So fold both legs in here. And then coming into this fetal position. And knowing you might adjust your legs if it seems like a good idea to do so once you start this movement. You're going to take your left arm, your top arm up and over, and let it open up again so that you find that twist open in your chest. And then in here, if you're too full, if there's too much going on in the belly area, if there's too much tightness, it's going to be hard to twist. So let there be a softening, let there be a release, almost like you're kind of zeroing out or emptying out that space and see what happens to your twist. One more exhale. Bring it all back together so that you can roll the whole body over onto your left side. Drawing inwards, you want to try to find a shape that feels comparable to what you have on the right. And then take your left arm and open it up back behind you until you come into this twist. Notice places where you feel resistance, and then make an active effort to soften and clear out those spaces. One more round of breath. And then just to be even, go ahead and fold it in, and then take yourself back to your back, bring your knees into your chest, give yourself a squeeze and a little rock around. And at this point, you're gonna wanna grab onto your block or your object, your paperback, your pillow, whatever it is, and then go ahead and bring it in between your knees on its narrowest setting. So for me, that's about 3 inches on the object that I have. And then you'll flex your feet, squeeze your knees together, and my knees are right up above my hips. Take your arms down by your sides, palms facing down, just a little outside of your hips, and do a tiny snuggle of your shoulder blades underneath so your chest stays open. And then squeeze the block in with your thighs, breathe in. Exhale just 6 inches over towards the right. So you're definitely able to keep both shoulders down. And then inhale to the center. Exhale about 6 inches over towards the left. Do a few more rounds of just about 6 inches, just following your breath. It's a little harder to twist in this way because you are tensing the belly. Do you need to tense the belly that much? Are you able to find space in other places that allow you to keep this twist moving? And with both shoulders down, not worried about how far you twist, can you twist a little bit further? How does that impact the rest of your body? What does it feel like? What changes take place? What are your mental responses to it? How did that impact the breath? Let's go 2 more rounds each side. Remember, you don't have to go very far. This isn't a feat of contortioning. This is an examining of the way the body is placed. Come back to the center. Go ahead and relax your feet down and take the block out from in between your knees. And then let both of your knees open up. If this is a little bit tender to you, just take a moment with your right leg open and then switch over towards the left side. Let's say we'll spend about 3 more breaths here, just kind of relaxing these inner thighs. Then you're going to take the legs back towards each other, bring the block in between your knees just so that you take it with you as you bring the knees in. And you can roll yourself over and press yourself up or try to rock yourself right up into a seat. So I've got the block in between my knees. I'm squeezing the knees and I'm going to go ahead and hold on the backs of my thighs and then reach my ears as far back behind me as I can go so that my spine is long and I come to a bit of a boat pose. Squeeze the block in with your knees. You can leave your left arm open or on the knees and then take your right arm open. And a lot of us are going to do this, right? Like this arching. You soften the belly and maybe get more open in the chest. See different. Like here versus here. I want to be more open here. Come back to the center, maybe lift up a little bit. Then you're going to reach the ears back, long spine, and soften into your belly as you open that left arm out to your left side. Keep squeezing the block together. Then come back to the center. Go ahead and lift up. A lot of core work today. It's not quite as hot as it has been. It'll cool us off when we're done. You might stay on your heels. You might lift your knees up. You might reach the arms out in front of you. You might not. We're just going to go one more time. Exhale, open to the right. Inhale to the center. Exhale, open to the left. Inhale to the center, and then relax. You're going to take the block, go ahead and set it off to your side. Roll your knees a little bit side to side to relax those inner thighs. They'll come all the way down onto our bellies. So go ahead and get that block out of the way. If it's a encumbrance, words, oh goodness. Okay, so on the belly, a little bit of that stretching out of the belly. Let's come into Sphinx pose. Actively separating the collarbones and getting a little bit longer up through the neck. Just moving around in the neck. Go ahead and look over your right shoulder and really look over there. Like, what do you see? Try not to judge your own housekeeping skills. Notice if your left shoulder happened to have followed you. And then take your gaze forward and over towards your left side. What do you see? What do you notice? Maybe this is a place that you do not usually observe your room from. And then taking your gaze back to the front, go ahead and lower down onto the belly. Just make a pillow for your head with your hands, rest a forehead or a cheek. And we're going to take a big stretch to the right side of the chest. Extend your right arm out to the right. Tuck your left hand in underneath your shoulder. Look to the left and then roll your left leg back behind you until you feel that nice stretch to the front of your right shoulder, the right side of your chest.
One more breath in. Softening as you exhale. And then unwind that twist, come to your belly and start switching sides. The right hand comes in, the left arm opens. Look over towards the right and roll your right leg back behind you. If you feel resistance someplace, what would be the best response to it? Realignment or softening? One more exhale. And then coming back onto your belly, we're gonna go up on our hands and knees for just one movement. We'll take threading the needle, so coming onto your hands and knees. Take an arm, slide it underneath, and come to rest on the outside of your shoulder. I'm liking fingertips with the elbow in the air at this point. And then notice if you're tight in your pelvis, and if you can relax into your pelvis. And the less energy in the pelvis tends to bring the pelvis into a better alignment, a little bit softer space for the back. Breathing out. Then placing that hand back down, unwinding the bottom arm, and sliding out to the other side. So you'll rest on your shoulder and the side of your head, and then maybe coming up on the fingertips on that arm that's supporting you, and then actively releasing into your hips. One more breath out. And releasing that palm, unwinding the other hand, and then we're going to come into a forward fold. Option to spend a couple of breaths in downward dog, or option to meet us in a forward fold when you feel ready. So walk out through my calves here. I really love that opportunity in downward dog to stretch my calves. Maybe little hip wiggles. And then coming into a fold, rocking feet to hands and hands to feet, and softening into the belly so that you can roll easily forward. And then knees bent, head heavy. You might walk your hands up your legs or start to roll yourself up to standing. Wardrobe adjustments and whatever is necessary before you come up into the standing. So we're going to take the feet and do just a little bit of rolling around and kind of work out the toes. So you have to roll around so that you come ideally to that toenail side of your foot so that you're working the bones out. We'll go in the other direction. So both ways. And then going to the other side. Taking some rolling around. And then coming back into standing, just with the feet nice and easy, facing out in front of you. See if you can lift just your big toe. And rest it down, and just the other toes, and leave the big toes down, and then set it down. And then maybe you feel like you could lift your big toe and then your other toes. And then set the big toe down and then the other toes down. And then can you get the other toes up and then lift the big toes up and put the other toes down and put the big toes down, and then like shake things if they happen to have gone strange. And then we have all of this real estate that is available in our expansive grounded feet to balance. If you needed to move to a wall, or if you think that might be a good idea, go to a wall. But let's just see if we can just do some of these very soft balancing poses. One of them, we're going to have both feet on the ground. So if I'll mirror you, we'll have the right foot down, and then you're going to take the left toes, and you're going to go back behind you. And what I'm doing here is I'm coming just to the very tip of my toe. So ideally, I want to get one foot directly in front of the other. Maybe I can even go to where that foot is crossed behind me. So I've got my left leg behind me. My left arm's going to reach up. I'm going to hold on to my wrist and then create a side bend. I've got the back toe on the ground, but I'm pushing down into the front foot to get taller. And then I'm not crunching and folding into that space. I want as much space on both sides of the torso as I can. And then release, come back to the center, release your arms for a moment. You might feel longer on this side. We're gonna take this leg and reach it back. So I'm just barely touching the toes. There's no weight, but it has purpose. It's setting me up. So I've got either on this tightrope or crossing back behind and then reaching this arm up and over. Try to go for no weight, zero weight on that back foot. It's just there for balance and to extend that side of the body. Exhale. And coming on up, releasing the foot, releasing your arms, bounce and wiggle things out. Take your right arm out to the side. You're going to take your left hand and you're going to hold onto the bottom of your left knee. I'll go kind of fast through this. You want to get strong and tall. This foot is just hanging out there. And then see about opening it up. Notice what happened to your breath. Take it forward again and go ahead and set it down. Then you'll take the other arm out. You're going to hold onto the bottom of your right knee. Get tall. Feel your ears lifting up. Feel your spine getting strong. Open things up. And come back to the center and set it down and release your arm. Then we'll go one more little balancing sequence. Being mindful that you don't let your body go back behind you. You want to stay stacked up as you twist. Take that left leg up. This time you're going to hold it with your right leg. And then you're either going to hold onto your hip and just start looking with your eyeballs over towards your left side. Maybe you'll open your left arm. Then come back to the front and set things down. Bounce and wiggle. And I'll take the right leg up. You can hold on to it. You can keep contact with the body, which will be better for balance. You can do eyeballs. You can do face. You can do arm, opening out to the right side, staying totally vertical, gorgeous. And then come back to the center and set your foot down and bounce and wiggle things up a little bit. Okay. We're going to go into warrior one, starting with your right foot forward, your left foot back. We had that leg cross behind and that standing balance. We don't have that anymore. We have that train track space. So come on up, reach your arms up. My new favorite thing is to bend the left elbow, hold on to it and give that little side stretch. It's gorgeous for that front of the hip. Beautiful space there. And then come on up. Ooh. And you're going to take your left hand and reach it forward, and then your right hand, take it to your shoulder. And you're going to lean forward just a little bit and then turn that right shoulder open as much as you can. And then from the shoulder, open your arm to that twist. Notice if your hip went out to the right side. Can you pull it back towards the left foot? One more exhale. And then bring your hands together. See if you can come up into a chair pose. Maybe it's really graceful. Maybe you move your foot a couple of times. And wiggle until your feet are back together. And then take your left arm forward. Take your right hand to your shoulder. Turn the shoulder. And then however much the shoulder turns, notice if the knee popped out. And then maybe you open your arm. Exhale. Face towards the front. Straighten the legs. Reach both arms up. Feel very free on that right side. In fact, maybe reach up a little bit longer through the right side. And relax. And release the arms down. And then moving through the other side. So you have left foot forward, right foot back. Coming to warrior one. And do the bent elbow thing where you hold on to that right elbow and reach it up and over. Make sure that your left hip is pulling back towards your right foot. Exhaling. And then coming back up. You're going to release your right arm forward. Take your left hand to your left shoulder. Turn the shoulder. And from wherever the shoulder goes, that's where the arm opens to. Keep pulling the left hip back. You can lean forward a little bit. Just finding that space where it's not so crunchy in the back, where you've got space between the backbones. And from that space between the backbones, then you can twist into that space. One more exhale. Then coming back to the front, go ahead and bring your hands to your heart. We're going to step up into a chair pose. It may or may not be fluid. It may involve some
renegotiation of body parts. And then you'll take that right arm forward, the left hand to the shoulder, open the shoulder, then open the arm, then check out your knees. And if one went forward, you're gonna have to squeeze them in together and push down evenly into both feet and soften your belly. Maybe you can open that heart more to the left. And before you reach to the front, straighten both legs, reach up, maybe give it a little bit longer reach through that left side. And then release down and release your arms. We're going to step open wide legs. Toes facing mostly forward. Let's go down into a fold. Feel free to bend your knees. This one's really for you. Just choose what you want to do with this. It's going to be relaxing to your body. Put your hands wherever it's going to make sense to you on your body, wherever you feel supported, wherever you feel like it's releasing, whatever thing you're feeling needs to be released. One more exhale. And then yes, little bend into the knees for sure as we start to bring ourselves up to standing. And we're going to turn the toes all the way over towards the right, a little bit over on the left foot, and then bend into your knee. So, talked about this a tiny bit in that warrior one that was twisting. If you bend back and you shorten the space in between your vertebrae, it's going to be harder to move around them. We need space in between them. There's going to be a little bit of a coming forward in the chest when we go into this side angle or the extended side angle where we're going to try to create some more heart opening. So you want to think we're going to open at the chest, not pinch back into the lower back. So go ahead and leave this hand at your hip. You're going to take your right elbow down to your right knee. And then, look, this is very subtle. I want you to soften your belly back. Feel a little bit more room in your lower back, right? In fact, take the back of your hand into the lower back and see if you can use that hand to create more space. The tailbone going down towards your back foot. Then it's going to be the shoulder. It's going to turn open. So we're twisting an open twist instead of a closed twist. That shoulder. Keep relaxing that lower back space. Tailbone down towards your left foot. One more breath out. Relax that twist. Open. And you'll come to stand up. And then we're going to switch the feet. So we go over towards the other side. Got left toes all the way over, right toes inside. Bend into this leg. Being careful, I don't want to settle back. I'm going to come forward. But notice I'm coming forward and I'm not punching in. Right? It's all those little subtleties. So I have the elbow down. I've got this hand into my lower back. And I'm thinking long in that lower back. You can use my hand to kind of massage that space, creating that powerful touch response. And then this shoulder rolls more open. Feel my chest stretching out, my heart lifting. One more exhale. Relax that twist. Start to lift yourself up. Take the feet a little bit closer, so a little bit more like hip width apart. Maybe a little bit wider than hip width. And take the arms behind your back. Now, if this doesn't feel great, you can grab onto your elbows or onto a strap or just hold onto your hips. So you've got many different options. You don't have to take anything exactly as I give it to you, but leave your knees nice and soft. We're going to go down into a fold. This is going to be a little weird on your balance maybe, but I want you to bend more into your left leg and then let your hands go over to the left. Maybe you look over towards the right. And then to the other side. So you'll bend a little bit more into your right leg, let your hands go to the right, maybe you look a little to the left. And then you come back to the center and notice what you've been holding and tightening and soften it. You're going to release those hands down and then use the hands to come down into child's pose. So just taking your time coming down there. Lay flat on your belly if a bent knee. Child's pose is not really what's calling to you right now. One more breath. And then walking the hands up to meet you. You're going to slide the legs out in front of you and come into a twist. All right, come in, legs out extended. We are going to move into a twist. I'll talk us through getting there. So when you come up, take your right leg, you're going to tuck it in. If it will easily cross over the left leg, you'll do that. Let's keep the left toes lifted to keep the spine long. Hug onto this thigh. Take your right arm behind you and nice and close. Lift the ears and soften the belly into this twist. I just feel the difference when you're hugging and pulling in. Maybe a little bit more intense to take this arm and cross it over. They're going to create a little bit of pressure here, leg against thigh, to lift and twist more. And that requires, since there's more pressure here, to have hopefully less pressure here, more softening in the belly. Still an open chest. Stay through the exhale. Then release your twist. I'm going to take the leg, unwind it, and wrap up for the other side. I'm going to start hugging the thigh. Left arm in nice and close, right toes lifted, tall in the ear, soft in the belly. I'm just feeling the change in the twist, the change in the energy. Arm to the outside of the thigh. So rather than pulling into the space, you can find that pressure and expansion into that space. Exhale here. And then relaxing your twist. Unwind your leg and unwind your unwind your arm and unwind your leg. I was like, what order did that go in? Okay, good. Now, whatever you had in between your feet, your legs before, maybe you had a block, maybe you had a paperback book, maybe now is the time you're like, I would really prefer to have a block or a paperback book, but even just a squishy pillow or ball or something is going to be fine. Just want you to have that nearby. We're going to do a little bit of hip release with it before we go much further, but start off just with your feet together. And then take the flesh and adjust it. And then just come forward. Softening forward. Exhaling into the shape. One more breath out. And then come back up. We're just going to do the low setting in this. So we're just going to do this once, just taking that block or that object or a pillow, squeezing it in between the feet, any separation whatsoever. And then push the feet gently into your block. And it's going to be mostly the pinky toe edges of your feet. I'm just going to try to find a longer spine here. So a little action of feet pressing into the block. There's only so much you can really do. And then a little lift in the spine. And again, there's only so much you can really do. But it's so little and it's so powerful. And sometimes I'm not really sure I'm doing anything at all here, but it makes such a difference the more that I do it. One more breath out. And then relax that. Let's take the block out and away. Bring your feet back together and then soften forward again. Maybe you've got more space. Maybe it feels different. Maybe you don't like it as much. Find something useful for yourself here.
And start to walk yourself back up out of this fold. I'll take the legs open just in a way that's comfortable to you. Maybe not the widest that you've ever gone. And then start with your hands back behind you. Use your hands to propel your heart forward. Notice the points of resistance, try to soften them. And then when you feel, if you feel like you would like to bring your hands further forward, you're welcome to do that. We'll be here for 3 more breaths. Go ahead and walk yourself back up. We're going to start making a transition down onto our back. So if there's something you want to have handy for a really yummy shavasana, make sure you've got that around with you. Once you get yourself down onto the floor, just feel yourself settling in, relaxing, allowing yourself to be held by this floor beneath you, supported and connected to this earth by gravity. You're going to take your right thigh and cross it up and over your left thigh. Use your left foot to hop your hips a little bit over towards the right, and then twist just until your foot comes down. So it didn't go super far there. You can go a little bit further if you really want to. But let's let the belly softening here be what helps to release this outer hip space. If you want to open up your arms a little bit more, you can do that. Maybe you complete the twist in your spine by looking over the right shoulder. One more exhale. And then look back up, lift your legs up, unwind them. Find a little hip scooch to find center again so we can set up for the other side. Taking the left thigh over the right, using your right foot to hop the hips a little bit over towards the left, and then coming over into this twist pretty much just so much that the foot comes down, although you can go further if you really want to, but I find it's not necessarily the most useful or pleasant most of the time, but you can choose. And there's this softening, releasing in the belly, maybe looking with the head over towards the left side. After your next exhale, starting to unwind the legs, coming back to center, giving a little scooch back into center in the hips. And then with your knees coming in, widen them out and reach up for happy baby. Rocking around a little bit if that calls to you, or being more still if that's what you would prefer.
One more breath out. And then release your feet down a little bit wider than your hips. Take your arms up and open in a way that's comfy. Maybe that involves holding the elbows, maybe it doesn't. Roll the knees over towards the right side, stretching out the front of your left thigh. Reaching that left knee away from you. One more breath out. And then taking the knees back up, and you can roll them over towards the other side, letting that right knee reach away from you. One more exhale. And then coming back to the center, let the knees knock against each other. Take one hand to your belly and one hand to your heart. You can feel, notice, sense the heartbeat here. There's that moment of action, of pulse, of surge of energy, the movement that the heart initiates, and then there's that softness afterwards. There's the space for the cycle of circulation to complete, for the response from the body, pushing the blood back, but there's just generally a softness, not a banging and an adding and an intensity all of the time, that there's still stuff happening. Value of the zero, the simplification of simply allowing rather than having to overcomplicate everything with weird formulas to indicate what number we're on. Stay here or start to extend the legs and let the feet flap open into Shavasana. Maybe giving a small snuggle of the shoulder blades towards each other underneath the heart. Enjoying this beautiful Shavasana. As you start to come back into your body. Letting the awareness bring a little bit more depth and intensity to your breath. Still feeling that calm, almost blank slate sort of nature that comes after this rest. Sweet contentment, santosha. When you're ready, beginning to roll yourself over to one side, pausing as you turn inwards in gratitude for your practice. And when you're ready, finding your own version of a comfortable seat, hands gathered at your heart. We seal practice by releasing an Om together. Big breath in. Bowing down to the love and light inside of each of our hearts. Namaste. Thank you, thank you. Oh, make sure that we're all in email over the next couple of days, because I'll be letting you know what is and is not going to be popping up. I'm not going to be around next weekend, so next Monday there's no class. It'll all be on YouTube. And then make sure that you shoot me an email and let me know what you think about whether or not we should be in person, or I'm thinking probably hybrid if we do decide to go in person. I know some people have said that the big room seems okay, and some people are maybe feeling like they're still thinking Zoom for a while. So I'm
Okay.
kind of, I don't know.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have wonderful days, everybody. Take care.
Yes.
Yeah, you too. Thank
Enjoy
you.
the rest of your summer.
See you in 2 weeks. Wherever I'll see you. I'll see you somewhere.
Yeah, have a
Okay.
good day off. Bye-bye.